Chrisean Rock just went on a live broadcast and made a direct, binding declaration. The very next time Blueface steps into her presence, she is calling 911 immediately. No more direct communication, no more meeting up, and no more chances.
Next time he does that, I'm gonna just call 911. Because I'm tired of compromising my faith, my walk with God, my witness.
But here's the concrete reality. Documented footage and physical video evidence prove that just 48 hours before the statement, the two were physically together. She picked him up from the airport, accompanied him to the beach, and sat beside him during his training sessions. In her own recorded words, Chrisean explicitly admitted her exact vulnerability. She confirmed that while she can ignore phone calls and text messages, she fails to maintain boundaries whenever he physically flies into her state.
Being tested like that was actually good for me because now I know my weakness. My weaknesses is I can ignore calls, I can ignore text messages, but when someone flies in that state, I don't know. I was just like, what's up? What do you want? You know what I'm saying? And instead of saying, what's up?
She directly stated that instead of engaging, she is forcing herself to dial emergency services to protect her personal faith and public witness for Jesus.
What should I do different next time? Call 911. So that's what I'm going to do, call 911. Even though it's going to be hard to do that, I'm going to do it. You know why? Because I'm going to do it for Jesus. I don't got no time to be playing with my witness.
However, invoking law enforcement isn't just an emotional boundary. It carries immediate, severe legal parameters. Both individuals have extensive criminal records and active legal conditions. Blueface served nearly 2 years in prison for probation violations stemming from a 2022 Vegas incident, while Chrisean served time in Oklahoma following her 2024 arrest. Under active legal oversight, calling 911 to report a domestic encounter doesn't just end an argument. It automatically triggers law enforcement documentation and court notifications that can put both parties in direct violation of their release terms. 48 hours before Chrisean Rock went live declaring she would dial 911, there was no emergency. There were no public distress calls, no emergency dispatches, and no social media warnings. Physical video proof shows the exact opposite environment. A calm, coordinated, and completely voluntary link-up across state lines. Chrisean personally went to the airport, picked up Blueface after his flight landed, and brought him into her immediate space. They spent the next 2 days together in public view. They were documented at the beach, spending hours outdoors, and sitting side by side while he conducted his training sessions. For those 48 hours, there was zero indication of an unwanted presence or an erratic breach of personal boundaries. Then, the dynamic completely flipped. The moment the physical meetup ended and distance was re-established, Chrisean logged onto live video to completely rewrite the framing of the encounter. She didn't claim Blueface forced his way into her home. She didn't claim he broke down a door. Instead, she explicitly admitted on camera that her inability to say no when he physically arrives in her state is her primary personal weakness. She admitted that while she possesses the discipline to ignore his incoming phone calls and text messages, that discipline completely collapses the moment he flies in and stands in front of her. That admission shifts the entire nature of this conflict. This isn't a story about a surprise ambush. It is a documented pattern of mutual contact followed by immediate public regret. Chrisean framed this sudden 911 threat as a spiritual ultimatum, stating she is taking this step to protect her walk with God, her faith, and her public witness for Jesus.
Money, no bookings alone. I left all that. So, stop criticizing me, pray for me, and believe when I say I'm calling 911.
She publicly asked her audience to stop criticizing her past choices and instead pray for her to stick to this boundary. But using emergency services as a personal accountability tool creates an unavoidable legal collision. Calling 911 is not a private boundary setting app. It is a state-level law enforcement dispatch. When an emergency call is placed involving two individuals with documented criminal records, law enforcement officers do not evaluate spiritual journeys or public image. They evaluate legal history, active warrants, domestic disturbance protocols, and conditions of release. The moment a 911 call is registered, it generates an official police report that is automatically routed through county and state databases. The tension surrounding this 911 declaration reaches far beyond a personal falling out. It collides directly with mandatory arrest statutes under state law. In California, Penal Code Section 836 enforces strict domestic call protocols, meaning officers responding to high-profile domestic dispatches cannot simply walk away after conversation. When a call involves individuals on formal probation, such as Blueface's 4-year probation sentence stemming from his Nevada felony charges, officers must execute a mandatory background check via the California Law Enforcement Telecommunications System, CLETS. If a responding officer files a Form 180 or an official incident log classifying the scene as a domestic disturbance, that document is automatically forwarded to the Department of Adult Probation within 24 hours. For Blueface, this creates a catastrophic legal risk. Probation conditions strictly prohibit any involvement in incidents requiring police dispatch, regardless of who dialed 911 or who arranged airport transit. Under standard probation terms, a simple field interrogation report, FIR, can trigger a motion to revoke probation under Penal Code 1203, exposing him to serving the remainder of his suspended sentence behind bars. The judicial exposure is equally critical for Chrisean Rock. Following her June 2024 arrest in San Fernando on an extradition warrant, and her subsequent plea deal in Oklahoma's Craig County District Court regarding CDS felony charges, her release conditions require complete avoidance of law enforcement contact involving domestic disputes. If responding officers determine that emergency services were called to handle an arranged, voluntary meetup, law enforcement can file charges for filing a false police report under Penal Code Section 148. 5. Or misuse of 911 emergency lines. By using the police as a spiritual barrier, Chrisean surrenders all personal control to the state district attorney's office. Once a 911 call hits the CED, computer-aided dispatch, system, neither party can request to drop the charges or cancel the report. The state assumes total legal jurisdiction over both individuals. But just when the narrative seemed entirely focused on this legal standoff, a critical shift in timing and documented behavior completely changed the reality of the situation. The critical shift in this ongoing saga isn't just about the physical distance between them, it is about the precise pattern of behavior that repeats every single time distance is breached. A close examination of the documented timeline reveals a predictable cycle that has played out across multiple states over the past several years. Physical distance generates public declarations of independence and spiritual realignment on live broadcasts. Flight coordination occurs, followed by low-profile reunions at airports, gyms, and public beaches. Post-reunion regret triggers threats of legal intervention, probation leverage, or emergency law enforcement dispatches. The verified record confirms that Chrisean explicitly stated on camera that her personal weakness manifests the moment Blueface physically lands in her state. She confirmed that while she possesses the ability to block calls and ignore text messages from a distance, her personal boundary completely collapses during in-person encounters. Her stated intent to dial 911 is her chosen mechanism to preserve her spiritual witness and maintain her walk with God. However, video evidence proves that mere hours before this live broadcast, both individuals were engaged in voluntary, shared activities in Los Angeles, including airport transportation, beach visits, and attending joint workout sessions. This documented contradiction shifts the entire nature of the fallout. The core conflict is no longer just about relationship dynamics. It is an internal battle between personal impulse and public accountability. By broadcasting a vow to call 911, Chrisean constructed a binding public trap for herself. If Blueface flies to her state again, and she fails to dial emergency services, her public credibility on this boundary completely vanishes. If she does dial 911, she instantly initiates a mandatory police investigation under active probation laws, exposing both of them to immediate judicial reviews, probation revocations, and potential jail time. One perspective views the 911 threat as a legitimate self-imposed barrier, a radical measure to enforce physical distance when personal discipline fails. The alternative perspective views the threat of police involvement as tactical leverage used during post-reunion disagreements, utilizing his high-risk probation status as a weapon of compliance. We have reached the absolute peak of this crisis. Blueface operates under a public warning. Stepping foot into her immediate space carries a guaranteed law enforcement dispatch. Meanwhile, Chrisean operates under the pressure of her own public vow. Any future leniency or unannounced reunion instantly invalidates her claims of establishing a clean break. The buffer between personal drama and state intervention has completely evaporated. 48 hours turn a voluntary beach link-up into a public threat of emergency police intervention. Chrisean Rock has put her boundary on the record, vowing to dial 911 the moment Blueface enters her state to protect her walk with God. But with both of their criminal records and active legal terms hanging in the balance, putting law enforcement between them isn't just a personal statement. It is a legal landmine. Now, the entire situation hangs on one single, unresolved question. When Blueface inevitably tests this boundary and lands in her city again, will Chrisean actually dial 911 and put both of their freedom on the line? Or will the cycle repeat itself just like it has for the last 5 years? This is where the real debate begins. Is this a genuine spiritual boundary to finally break a toxic loop? Or is invoking the police just another tactic in an endless cycle of public drama? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. If you want the absolute truth and reality-based breakdowns on the biggest stories as they unfold, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Because as history has proven with these two, the next move is only a flight away.